If I told you a week ago this is where we would be, you would have said what?
I would have said this is where we are, Dan, right? A week ago, we didn't know Dan Hurley was interested in this job. We didn't know the Lakers were interested in this job. We would have said, I would have told you that they are doing their due diligence in sort of a slow, methodical way internally, but externally, everybody thinks the job is going to be JJ Redick. That was where we were on last Wednesday, right? Then obviously, Adrian Wojnarowski reports about Dan Hurley on Thursday morning. I was able to quickly get that confirmed internally, and then kind of you're off to the races over this weekend where the number one choice emerges. And now, I mean, I think what we knew about the coaching search before, a week ago has been kind of shaken a little bit to its core. And as of right now, I don't really know where anything stands with them. Coming out of this, they put a lot of eggs into this basket and have nothing to show for it except some embarrassment today and yesterday.
The perception hit for the Lakers. How do you measure? How do you measure that?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think on one hand, right, like they can say and they will say that they did everything they could to get the best possible coach into their building, and you shoot a shot like that. That's what you do if you're a marquee franchise, right? Like you take those kinds of swings. I think though, and the analogy I keep coming back to over the last day or so, Dan, is like if you're gonna tell somebody that you love them, you want to hear it back, and you want to be pretty sure that you're going to hear it back, right? Like, and I think the Lakers were exposed in this way on this, right? You hear things like on Thursday that Dan Hurley was their choice all along, right? The front and center of their search, and they get him to Los Angeles, and there's going to be this offer, and all of that stuff, and you don't leave with him as your coach. What does that say about your process to date? What does that say about your process in terms of the other candidates you've spoken to? What does that say about the coach that you eventually do hire, Dan? Right? Like, I mean, now we know whoever they hire isn't the guy that they wanted most. And that's what I mean. I think they had to have thought, and I know people over there thought that they were going to get Dan early, that they thought the offer was good enough, that they thought the opportunity was good enough. There were factors I think they couldn't control. They don't happen to play in the Mohegan Sun on the Eastern Seaboard. Like I think there were geographic factors in this, right? Like this is very much an East Coast family. I think that they don't have the opportunity to compete for a third straight NCAA championship. They can't offer that, right? Like, so they can't offer the lure of doing something John Wooden did last. And then I think, honestly, like, there's just questions. And Dan Hurley knows what his life is like as UConn head coach. You talk to people around the league about what life is like as the Lakers head coach, and it's a very different story.
Is it a desirable job?
I think so. I mean, look, right? Like, one, they're all desirable because there's only so many of them. But I think, yeah, it's a desirable job. Look, you've got two superstars. You've got a great place to live. There's nothing quite like being a famous Laker in Los Angeles. The doors that opens. I've had conversations, over the years with a guy like DeAndre Jordan who experienced it for a couple of months as a Laker, but years as a Clipper, and how different it was, right? Like it's just a different thing when you're a famous Laker. The stars come to see you, right, and not the other way around. But there are challenges. It's a challenging time in the organization's history right now. Like there is I don't want to say a reckoning. That seems a little dramatic, but there are crossroads that are coming, right? Like if you re-sign LeBron James, and I expect them to, he's only getting older, and the pressure to win is only going up every day that he's in the league, right, and performing at a high level. He's maybe the most win now player in NBA history by being a 40-year-old All NBA player. There's no time to waste, right? But you also know the future's coming too. So you are kind of stuck in that. I don't want to say a two timeline situation, but you do have two jobs. You have to plan for tomorrow while maximizing today. And ask Steve Kerr how hard that was, with Golden State, when they've tried to do that with James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga while still maximizing Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. It's a really hard thing to do in the NBA, and you're doing it at a place where the expectations are as high as any.